Hello and welcome to Tim's BMW repairs and information. Well, my air conditioning has heated up to some extent. Did it slowly. Now, if you want all the pros and cons about using DIY stuff to top up air conditioning, there's the link about it. I do go into great detail of how the system works and good reasons why you shouldn't use a DIY kit, but I'm going to go for it today. It might work, it might not. Because the air conditioning slowly got worse, then I've probably got a very small leak somewhere and just got to the point where it's just not working. So I've got refills. Now, all the original refrigerants used in these cars discontinued because they damage the ozone. So you get these which are meant to be sort of nice for the environment, but they're less efficient. But I'm going to give it a go anyway. So what I've got is I've got 3 tins, got a gauge. Here's the low pressure line. What I do is I start the car up, and what I should do is head so the needle ends up in the blue zone. Around about 40 psi or so is what we usually head for. And as long as we can manage that, we're usually all right. Now, the gauge does tend to go quite high to start with until it starts pushing the gas around the system. So don't panic, but just leave it a while for the pressure to stabilize again. Okay, so the plan with these things is we connect them to the low pressure line. This is the low pressure line on this 6 Series. Put a can at the other end. It's got a piercer on it, so what we do is we fit the can on nice and tight, fit this to the low pressure line. Didn't hear any. Oh right, we're in the blue already, so obviously still has gas in the system, and that's great. That's great news, because that means I probably will be able to get the air conditioning running again. When the gas is put in, the can has to be this way up, and what we do is to control the flow with the tap. So put it right in to pierce the can, and then slowly start removing the pierce from the can, and then let the gas flow through to the low pressure side. And as I say, what we'll probably see is when I first start up the car, the pressure is going to go very low and then it's going to rise back up again. We'll see if that happens. Right. Right, make sure the air conditioning is on. There we go, pressure's gone pretty low. So we start putting gas in the system. Keep opening the can and then closing the can again, and watch the pressure. What we expect to happen is the pressure will start reducing as the gas is being pushed around the system. And what we have to do is wait for it to stabilise so we know exactly what charge we're putting into the system. We don't want the charge to end up really high, so that may cause problems. So just do this slowly is the best plan. Right, so we're below the blue zone, so we'll let a bit more gas in. I can hear the auxiliary fan, well the main fan running now, which means the air conditioning is actually working and it's cooling down the condenser. So I'm quite happy to say the air conditioning is probably working, but I haven't been inside to check. Yesterday it was just hot. I couldn't get any cooling out of the car at all. Right, so that's probably 1 can empty. We're not really as far up the scale as I'd like. I'd like to be a bit closer to 40 psi. Yeah, it's starting to rise a bit now, so I'm going to close the valve. Now, of course, with the can upside down, we're actually introducing probably a liquid rather than a gas. So we've got to be very careful about the speed that we put the liquid into the compressor. So on the low pressure side, just as it reaches the compressor. So we've got to take this really slowly. So yeah, we're about 32 psi, which is a bit low, but I would say that's probably working. I'll go in the cabin and check. I'm glad to report that air conditioning is nicely working now. So yeah, we're a bit low. I mean, I've got a choice now. I can either put some of the can in. I've got the mini to do, that's a bit low. But I'll keep an eye on the pressure, because as the system heats up, the pressure is going to rise. So I don't want to exceed the safe limits. Now, the pressure which we read is dependent on the ambient temperature, and hotter the ambient temperature, the higher the pressure will be. We're at 20 degrees C today, so recommended on the can is somewhere between 32 and 42 psi. We're about 35 psi, so I could probably just leave that, especially as the cabin is nice and cool now. Yep, I think I'd call that a day, because the air conditioning is working nicely. I've got 2 cans left over if I need them, and that gives me a chance to refill it again if I have to, but at the moment that's perfectly fine. Right, well, that was quite a simple one, wasn't it? I'm not an air conditioning expert. I do understand how the system works, but this sort of procedure really only works on an air conditioning system that's slowly lost its pressure. And this car wasn't used for more or less a year because of COVID, and I was using the 8 Series instead. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it's lost some gas pressure. But that's fine. We're sitting at 35 psi, air conditioning is working, that's fine. Right, well, thanks very much for all the comments I get. I do love reading the comments. I'm sure to get some comments about this, for the reasons why we shouldn't do it, but needs must. Yeah, thanks for the comments, I love reading them. Give the video a thumbs up if you want to, and I'll see you next video. I've got a lot of them lined up, by the way. I've been quite busy. This one's just a quick one for today. See you next time.